Alright, hi guys. Here's the second video for reference sources. So very quickly what we're going to do is we're going to review our slide from yesterday about reference sources. Then I'm going to teach you about 4 new reference sources that we didn't get a chance to talk about yesterday. So just remember, a reference source is a resource we use to learn and gather knowledge or information. Remember, our examples include the dictionary, atlas, encyclopedia. Yesterday we went on to say it also includes the almanac, it could include a glossary, and it could include periodicals like newspapers or magazines. So let's get started. The first one we are going to talk about today is the Encyclopedia. Okay? The Encyclopedia has multiple books, and these books are separated by the letters of the alphabet. So, sad enough, believe it or not, I was not able to bring in encyclopedias because there are so many books, because each letter of the alphabet has its own book. For example, A has its own book that only has topics that begin with the letter A. And remember, since it's an encyclopedia and not a dictionary, it's going to give you lots and lots of information. So it might give you information about a place like Alabama. It might give you information about a character like Anne of Green Gables. There are lots of different things that it can give you information about. So just keep in mind that these books are humongous, and it is so hard for me to bring 26, so I'm super sad that I couldn't bring them. Each book is organized into ABC order. Just like all other reference sources we've talked about, it's organized in ABC order. If you're looking at the A book, it's going to start with the first word that begins with the letter A, and it's going to go all the way to the last one. It gives facts and information. Remember, that's the important part. Notice I have it underlined, bold. It gives facts and information. That's what it gives you. It's not definitions. It's not the part of speech. It's not pronunciation guides. It is literally, and say it, facts and information. At the top of each page, you're going to have the guide words. And remember, the guide words tell you the first word on that page and the last word on that page. But keep in mind, since we're talking about topics, you may have the word apple, and you're doing a research project on apples. There might be 13 pages about nothing but apples and the different kinds and where they can be grown. So just because it has guide words, sometimes guide words in an encyclopedia doesn't change as fast like words in a dictionary, because dictionaries have so many words. So you might see the same guide word on so many pages. Sad thing is about encyclopedias, they're outdated now, thanks to the internet. And it's not a bad thing. It makes it easier for us to use. A lot of people use Wikipedia as their encyclopedia choice. And I do have to say, I enjoy using Wikipedia versus being able to go grab a book and look at it. But we still do have encyclopedias, so it's important that you know it gives you facts and information. Now let's talk about when it's good to use an encyclopedia. It's great to use if writing a report. So let's say I asked you to do a report on a famous person from North Carolina, and let's say you choose Andy Griffith. So you could go to the G book because it goes by his last name. I could find him in our book, and I could find all kind of facts and information: where he's born, where he lived, what shows he starred in, when he started doing show business. It'll give me all those facts and information to help me write my report. Okay? The next one we are going to talk about is an atlas. And atlas is something pretty simple. Here is an atlas of the world. And let me just open before we start talking. Notice that when I open up, it's nothing but a big map. Let me show you one more. Here's a map of Turkey. So as you can see, it has the names of the countries. It has maybe different roads, different areas are all outlined. And it also, notice the colors. It shows you what kind of landforms you can find on or in that country. Okay? So remember, an atlas helps locate places. That's the most important thing about an atlas. An atlas is a book of maps. It helps you find where places are located. Not only does it help you find where the place is, It may include roads, so you might have a road atlas that shows you the different roads that you could travel, and it'll help you plan for trips. It could also be an atlas that contains the cities. It may show you the bodies of water like the Atlantic Ocean or the Pamlico River. It may also include flags, especially if your atlas is broken down by countries. And statistics about a place. So it might tell you how many people live there. It might tell you the elevation, like maybe it's 10,000 feet above sea level, which means it's got a lot of mountains. It can be done by countries, cities, or states, and that's not all the ways atlas can be made. Growing up, I remember having an atlas of the United States, and inside my atlas of the United States, it had all the different states, so it had 50 pages of maps where I could look at each separate state. I could start at A and go all the way to the last letter that our states end at. Okay? And another sad but true is that atlases are outdated due to GPS. We don't use a lot of atlases anymore. Back in the day, I remember being a child, and when we got ready to go to Disney World, my dad sat down with an atlas and mapped out all the roads that'll get him there the quickest. So if I were going to Disney World now, all I would do is grab my GPS, type in the address where I'm going, and it'll take me straight there. So GPS has kind of made the atlas not used as much. All right. Next one we have is the Almanac. And here in my hands, I have a children's version of the Almanac. Notice it says Almanac 2009. And it says that because it's a book that is printed annually, which means they only print one book a year. Now that doesn't mean one total, but it means each year there's only one kind of book that's printed. Now I know this is a children's version. There's also an adult version. There's like a farmer's version. There's lots of different kinds. But it's important for you to remember it contains interesting facts and information about the year it is printed. So this one's printed for 2009. So this book has lots of facts about 2009. It tells you, what president was in office at 2009. It also makes predictions or guesses. Remember, comma or lets you know that predictions means guesses. It makes guesses about the year, including the weather and when farmers should plant crops. So it might say that maybe for 2014, since it's been so cold and rainy and lots of snow, it might say that you shouldn't plant your crops until April. And a lot of farmers use this to help them know when to plant crops. It also contains statistics about sports. So it would show you who won the Super Bowl. It would also talk about maybe baseball scores, who hit the most home runs, that kind of good stuff. Okay. And we've got one more today, and that's a periodical. Okay. Periodical is just a big word. Has a very easy meaning. It means newspaper or magazine. Very simple. Now, in my hands, I have two very simple newspapers that we use in our classroom. For example, this is a magazine called Time for Kids that we use. And we'll talk about it more in just a second. And this is our Social Studies Weekly newspaper. And even though it's not quite what we're talking about right now, it gives you a good idea of what they look like. Newspapers are usually produced daily, which means a new one comes out every day of the week, depending on where you live. Some places don't do one every day. And they contain news stories about your local area. So for example, where we live, we have a local newspaper, and it's called the Washington Daily News. So they get all kinds of stories about Beaufort County and maybe Pitt County. The area is really close to us. And they type them up and put them in a newspaper that looks pretty much like this. And then it's sent to your house, or your parents buy it, and they read all the interesting news stories. The next periodical we're going to talk about is magazines. And I'm sure you're all familiar with magazines. Not a new concept. But magazines are booklets that are usually printed bi-weekly or monthly. That means they're either printed every 2 weeks or they're printed once a month. They're printed with informational articles and stories. Okay? Can be entertaining or informational based on the magazine's audience. So for example, this magazine titled Time for Kids is full of facts and information. So I would say that this is a informational magazine that is made for kids, and this one is actually sent out monthly. So we get one issue a month. Okay? And that sums it all up for today. I guess I'll see y'all next time.